What's an oddly specific rule you follow in your life that nobody taught you, but you swear by it? Story 1. Talk about people like they've wiretapped you. It's not about being nice. It's the idea that even if I do and complain about someone, I want to at least be able to justify why I said it. I see too many people get caught up in venting and forget to check if they even believe what they're saying. It's a pretty simple rule, but it cuts out so much pointless internal drama and petty grudges. Story 2. Every few days, I check in on a different friend. I typically just send a simple "how's it going?" with an article or meme attached that I think they'd find interesting. 99% of the time, everyone is fine or good, but man, when that one hits and someone is in the hospital or getting a divorce or moving across state lines and worried, I'm glad I checked in. Story 3. If I'm having a hard time absorbing information, I have to imagine explaining it to someone else who really doesn't understand that sort of thing. I end up imagine whole scenarios and lessons. Makes the information stick way better than repeating it to myself. Story 4. Correct spelling and pronunciations of names shows an effort of being respectful. It's rooted in the fact that so many misspell my name, and it tells me they don't think details matter, when detail is everything. Story 5. When life gets, I allow myself an evening of pure wallowing, ice cream, sobbing, the works, and then I keep going. Some weeks need 3 wallow evenings, but I keep going. Story 6. All trips begin in the bathroom. Whether you need to go or not, doesn't matter if it's a cross-country road trip or a 5-minute jaunt to the gas station, I will, at least attempt to be first. Story 7. Trust my gut instinct. Something doesn't feel right, leave someone doesn't seem right, leave spidey sense is very underrated. If the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, I'm dipping out. Story 8. Every time I see a child wearing glasses, I make it a point to say, I really like your glasses. As a middle schooler who had to wear glasses for the first time, the level of self-consciousness that I put myself through was off the charts. Even if only 1 out of every dozen children reacts positively, it's worth it to me. Story 9. Never take my anger out on other people. No matter how mad or upset someone makes me, I make sure not to direct it towards or take it out on anyone else. I was the person my father directed his anger towards, and it's miserable. Story 10. Never drive directly behind a logging truck. To be fair, I assume there is a lot of folks that keep to the same rule after watching a certain movie. Where I am, the logs are very securely chained down and seem safe. Do I trust it? Nope. Story 11. 2 is 1, and 1 is none. This applies to all consumables and essentials: toilet paper, charging cables, nail clippers, etc. Related one of every cable and/or toiletry in each bag. Story 12. Clean the house before going on vacation. Doesn't have to be a whole house cleaning, but do the dishes, tidy up the bathroom, make sure laundry is done, etc. It makes you appreciate the vacation more and a huge gift to yourself when you get home. Story 13. I always tell myself I'll just rest my eyes for like 5 minutes, then wake up 2 hours later in a completely different dimension wondering what day it is, where I am, and why my phone's at 2 for no reason. Story 14. Always put the grocery cart back. It's literally a minimal effort. Try to be understanding and kind to everyone even if you think you will never see them again. The less you say, the less you have to explain later. Give people your full attention when they talk to you. Don't put it down, put it away. Story 15. Before ordering any food from anywhere, determine what I have on hand that I can cook in 10 to 15 minutes. Saves money, better nutrition, hot meal ready with the flavors I like in the time it'd take me to go somewhere, and pick something up to come home and eat it, plus leftovers for the next day. Story 16. Don't listen to anything your brain tells you after 10 p.m. My mental health isn't great, and man, I will really start to spiral sometimes if I'm up late. I just tell myself this and go to bed, and it's often better in the morning. Story 17. No dirty dishes in the sink, full stop. No excuses. You can wash while the pan is heating up, wash while it's simmering or coming to a boil. Those dishes after the meal, as soon as they touch the sink, just take the 10 seconds, scrub it down, toss it in the drying rack or dishwasher, I suppose. This came from childhood trauma of growing up in a hoarder house and lots of roach buddies crittering around overnight, and no dirty dishes. Story 18. Smaller vulnerable people furthest away from the road when walking, stronger individuals closet to the road. Never even noticed I did it until my ex-husband pointed it out one day. I watch now and a lot of people do it, but it's not a conscious or taught decision from what I can see. Story 19. Do the dishes as soon as possible. The longer they sit there, the harder it's going to get to motivate yourself to finish them. If you don't want to do dishes, don't cook something that requires lots of dishes. I guess this can be applied more broadly as like, don't make a mess you aren't prepared to clean up. Helps me not let stuff build up and get out of control. Less important, but never break the seal is a philosophy I apply to games with microtransactions. Once I spend money on it once, I know I'm going to be comfortable doing it again, so I have a rule that I never do that. Only drink alcohol 2 nights a week max is another one. Vacation is an exception, 1 sugary drink a day max. Since implementing this I don't even want soda anymore unless it's a good root beer, lol. But 1 a day applies until the supply is gone, and most days I never have a sugary drink. Story 22. Things 1. Compliments should come from a person's choices or thoughts, not genetics. 2. The 5-minute rule. If a person can't change something in 5 minutes, then we shouldn't comment on it. Story 21. I don't believe in disrespecting people in their own homes. I have no idea why. If we're in your house and you're a POS, I want to argue or fight with you, you'll just leave. It's this weird thing ingrained in me that doesn't believe in treating people badly. even if it's well-deserved, in their own homes. Story 22. If I drop a snack on the floor but it lands right side up, it's still spiritually clean. 5-second rule doesn't apply to the bottom if the universe protected the top. Story 23. Whether or not you enjoy a book is often up to your state of mind as much as it is the book. Half of my top 10 books started out as DNF or 2-star reads. Story 24. Babies need hats. Hot outside. Baby needs a sun hat. Cold. Needs a beanie. Lovely day. Needs an accessory. This was my mom's rule, and to this day anytime I see a baby out in public with its fuzzy head on display I hear my mom's voice as she whispered disapprovingly through her teeth that baby needs a hat. Wow, sorry to off the parents, OMG. It's a cute little rule I have as someone who will never have kids. It's my joke judgment I have in my head with my dead mom. Not a rule I think you or your children need to follow. Story 25. I am extremely forgetful, but if you don't live with me you'd never know it because I make a system that doesn't allow me to forget whenever I think I might. I have a bag for every activity I regularly go on. Everything that I need is in there and stays there. If I know I'm going to need something tomorrow but for whatever reason, can't put it in my bag now, I leave it somewhere where I have to interact with it to leave the next morning. Somewhere like in front of the door in the sink. Phone, keys and wallet go in my pocket as soon as I'm wearing pants and stay there until I go to bed. No changing into sweatpants for me because I know I'll walk out without my keys if I do. Anything I can't prepare beforehand gets a checklist. Story 26. Your job needs to either make you happy or make you enough money that you can be happy outside of work unless it is a sure way to progress your career to do one or the other. So if I get frustrated at a job I ask if I'm happy. Story 27. Just let the person merge in. Who cares if they're being a d-bag? You don't lose anything by not doing it, but cutting them off is probably going to lead to something worse. It's okay to be the bigger person. Story 28. When you are standing up to leave a place, restaurant, Uber, movie theater, wherever, turn around and check your seat before you go. I've saved myself from losing so many phones, sunglasses, umbrellas, sweaters, etc. since I started doing this. Story 29. Work does not exist outside office hours. My work phone gets switched off at the end of the day. I make a note of where I was with my work and come back to it the next day. Not only does it help me switch off, it forced me to actually deal with the reasons work tends to spill outside office hours. I'm now far more efficient, far better at managing workload, and far better at setting boundaries and expectations with people, to the point that it's incredibly rare that I actually need to work outside of core hours anymore. Story 30. Okay, this is for everyone to hear. People in the back, lean in. You might be wrong. Rather than standing on a hill and defending it to the death, take a minute to think. What if your perspective is the wrong one? This concept has saved me so many times. Story 31. My masturbation fantasies need to be with fake people. I have no idea why, but imagining a real person makes me feel bad for them. So before starting, I always need to build myself an imaginary girlfriend. Story 32. I am very picky about who I let sit around my table. You're who you hang out with, and if you wouldn't want to be just like all the people that sit around you, then dismiss yourself and go sit at your own table. Story 33. I wash my hands as soon as I get home. Doesn't matter where I've been or what I've been doing. Hands get washed before I start touching anything in my house. I've done this for years, and since 2020 I've got my partner doing it too. Story 34. If I'm worried about something going randomly and catastrophically wrong, like what if my car loses a wheel right now, or what if I get struck by lightning, I will tell myself, well, now that I've thought about it, it's way less likely to happen. What are the odds something crazy would happen, and you were able to call it before it happens? So far I've never been proven wrong. Story 35. If I don't need to separate, I will always shake eggs very well when cooking. There was a Mickey Mouse comic where Mickey was an insanely talented TV chef. Everyone tried to replicate his recipes, but they never tasted the same. Mickey said the magic is how you prepare it and how you feel the cooking, and shaking eggs was one thing. Story 36. I thought I invented the only do one illegal thing, break one rule at a time thing. It was never told to me, but I cemented that phrase in myself very early on. Then I realized it was basically a universal mantra for people that like not getting caught doing dumb things. Story 37. If you meet a friendly cat, pet it. There's no real consequence to this one other than you and the cat having a nice moment, and the potential of participating in the cat distribution system. Story 38. If I get excited about something it won't happen, or it does, I have to convince myself I really don't want something in order to succeed in getting it enjoying it. It's actually kinda messed up, but honestly that's just how the dice is always rolled for me. I don't even watch movie trailers anymore because if I'm excited for the movie, Story 39. Always tell the truth, only lie when you are in a life-death situation. There's never any bullshit to keep straight because I live that way, and let me tell you, so many people lie. It's terrifying. Story 40. I'd rather someone be honest with me than BS me. Even if I don't like what they say, I'll thank them for their honesty and tell them I respect them for that. It shocked a few people, but they think better of me for taking their truth on the chin. I've never had a bad reaction to what I say back, and it frequently diffuses the situation. Story 41. The rule of threes. There are 3 seasons: hot, warm, and cold. There are 3 types of music: the tunes you like, the tunes you don't like, and the tunes you tolerate. There are 3 generations: mine, older, and younger. There are 3 relationship statuses: married, single, or lying about it. Story 42. I compliment the guys in my life as frequently as possible without it sounding overboard or like a joke. Lord knows they're not getting it enough otherwise. Story 43. I get bad migraines that include brain fog. When I was a teenager, I started listing the colors around me to refocus my brain. As an adult, I started doing this with anxiety or from being overstimulated too. I've since learned that I basically figured out a grounding technique on my own, without realizing that therapists teach similar things. Story 44. If you can merge without any impeding of the cars behind or beside you, it's okay to merge. Even if you are close to the exit, however, you must be fully prepared to miss the exit and take the hit. Never inconvenience another driver for your lack of planning. Story 45. I have been self-employed for about 20 years. One of the first rules I made for myself was to start work at 9 a.m. I still start around 9 on most days, even if I don't have much to do like today. Story 46. Don't be afraid to speak up in meetings to challenge what you have just been told. I used to sit there and listen to the BS about the company and the work, knowing it was all nonsense from our on-the-ground perspective, getting more and more frustrated with the job, my manager, and the company. As soon as I started challenging stuff in the company workplace, social media and meetings, and becoming more militant in my stance, I found I am much more confident in challenging important things like health and safety or orders from supervisors to do things against the policy that could result in firing. Whereas before I would have just done stuff and then stewed about it, becoming jaded and miserable and angry. I am more at peace with my manager, as talking to him has demonstrated to me he is under pressure to get us to believe those things he is told by the C-suite and so on, so he is as much a victim of BS as us, and colleagues because they have said they feel the same and have thanked me for speaking out. I now enjoy my job because I called out bullshit when I see it or hear it. Story 47. When you leave a voicemail, this is the script. Hi, this is name my phone number is I'm calling regarding XYZ, please call me back time earliest convenience again. My number is the important thing is to get the number in there early and at the end so that they have 2 chances to hear it and don't have to sit through your whole message again if they need to hear it again. Story 48. Wash my hands before touching my penis to take a, you get one pleasure stick, take care of it, and in that same trip or any other trip to a public restroom, use paper towel to open the door. You'd be surprised how many people don't wash their hands afterwards. Story 49. I always drive with the utmost etiquette for semi-trucks, tractor-trailers, lorries. If I see they are trying to lane shift and my overtaking could impede them, I blink my lights and hold back. They have a hard enough job and are largely underappreciated. Story 50. When you're within 5 miles of your job, drive and or behave your best. I've been cut off multiple times by higher-ups who drive like jerks, definitely thought about flipping them off or some stupid road ragey thing, before accidentally following them to the office. Story 51. If a chore or cleaning something up or putting it back in its place takes less than 60 seconds, do it right then and there. I'm talking like, a jacket can be hung up instead of tossed in a chair, an empty bottle can be put in the trash, plate can go into the dishwasher instead of left on the coffee table, toilet paper roll replaced. It's right there in front of you and it takes less than a minute, you don't have to make time for it and it keeps it from building up into a bunch of large tasks down the road. Story 52. Noticed in my early teens 50 years ago that if I started feeling down or depressed, 2 things would predictably help: vigorous exercise and helping someone else. Story 53. If you're debating over whether you should or shouldn't do something one last time, don't do it. This started after one last run while snowboarding left me with my collarbone poking out from my shoulder, and I started realizing that the one last time moments usually never live up to how good I'm feeling while having the mental debate. And that's always when things go wrong. So now if I'm feeling really good at the end of whatever I'm doing, I just take that good feeling and leave. Story 54. After opening a pop can, I turn the tab a little bit to the left, not fully sideways left, just pointing NW. Why no one does this? I can spot my specific drink immediately. Also, the tab is less floppy like this. Story 55. Just be kind. That's it. That's all. I used to be a huge hole. I was tough for the sake of being tough. I was right for the sake of being right. I interrupted people when they spoke. My favorite topic was me. I jokingly teased people. I was in a hugely toxic relationship where we were both terrible to each other. I was angry all the time. I was always the victim. And on my 32nd birthday, I found myself celebrating alone and without friends. I sat there for a long time and tried to pick apart what had happened. My first deduction was it's them, not me. Then I realized I was the common denominator in this equation. That's when I changed pretty much everything. I stopped watching a certain hate-filled news channel. I started to try putting an effort to be kind to people. It was hard to relearn how to argue, disagree, or even converse, but I stuck with it, using online advice forums to learn how. I identified my own toxic behavior and learned about it, trying to pull the weed from the root so it never grew back. The biggest, neat change I made was hanging out with a whole load of people who I didn't really agree with their views on the world. I listened to feminists, drug addicts, liberals, POC, people who had lost it all, musicians who hated the government and people who chant a cab. It took time, but I don't even recognize the person I was in my 20s. I hate that guy. Being kinder has had the biggest impact on my life out of literally anything else, including college or getting that dream job. Story 5677. I believe in listening to the rhythm of my life, that when I'm in the right place and making sound choices, everything in my life gets easier and my life flows. I intuitively know what to do next. It feels like my life has synchronicity, but if I get too controlling or defensive or selfish, it suddenly feels like I'm out of step. The flow stops and a feeling of being disjointed sets in. everything gets harder and that feeling of synchronicity goes away. Story 57. Do not attribute to malice what can adequately be attributed to stupidity. I.e., if someone does something that could be seen as mean, could it adequately be explained away by them just being stupid? If yes, then that's the most likely explanation of why they did it. Story 58. Every time in sickets, hot showers, soups, relaxing TV, comfy blankets, naps, water, and a bottle to spit my phlegm out, in about 2 to 3 days I'm golden. Story 59. When you see a small child with a parent who is distracted or not attentive, be extra alert. I change my path a bit in a parking lot in case the kid darts in traffic. I can intercept. Stopped a kid at Costco from putting a laundry pot in mouth recently. I even ran after and jumped in a moving car with no driver, only a toddler. The idiot mom left it running on the curb, went in a store, and somehow it popped into gear. Story 60. Always invest in top-tier cling film saran wrap. Kind regards, a person who has previously bought cheap ones and continue to battle with it until the bitter end instead of hoofing it in the bin. Story 61. I go through life assuming I'm being recorded and that it's possible the recording be made public. It keeps me from being an even when I'm alone, and stops me from saying mean gossipy things about people behind their back. I still have negative comments about people or about their actions sometimes, but by assuming I'm being recorded, I will only say something that I can defend to that person's face if it ever comes out. It helps keep me honest, kind, and less petty, and gives me confidence when talking to people that might know I don't really like them. I also don't fret when I'm actually being recorded, security cam, doorbell cam, etc., because I was already assuming I was being recorded. Story 62. Your personal dignity is priceless. Tell the truth even if it hurts you. Act like you think people will like you even if you aren't sure they want. You aren't hungry, you're bored, anxious. Protect your lower back. Don't be afraid of confrontation. Some of the most valuable and important information about a person is how far they're willing to escalate things. Story 63. As a woman, if another woman desperately asks for male validation, she will make choices that aren't girl code. Stay weary, don't trust. They want their male validation regardless of who it hurts, yet they want your confidence and trust in yourself. Story 64. Assume positive intent. Not because I'm naive. Like when it's obvious there is bad intent. I'm talking about those situations where maybe someone is being inconsiderate, lazy, passive-aggressive, or genuine, etc. It isn't clear. Why worry about their motives? Takes less mental energy to just assume positive intent and act accordingly. For example, if someone you work with makes the same mistake repeatedly that you then have to correct, why stew or suspect that it's intentional or just lazy? Just talk to them and assume positive intent on their part. Like, hey, I noticed that you inadvertently overlooked filling a part of the spreadsheet I rely on for my analysis. Can I show you where it is and where to find the info, so that I don't have to bother you again? Story 65. When making a round-trip journey to the store, for example, never return via the exact same path you originally took if there is any alternative. Life is boring and repetitive. I will sacrifice efficiency for the sake of variety and take side streets and circuitous routes just to mix it up. It baffles my passengers. Story 66. I fully stopped cussing around the age of 20. I only cuss when I absolutely have lost my entire mind. So my rule is to not cuss, but I find other words to replace them. Story 67. I try not to cry over spilled milk. I say if there's something in my power to do about it, do it, otherwise take the L and move on. People will ask me, aren't you upset? And I always say, nah, happens. And I mean it. Story 68. If you wouldn't want it to happen to you, don't do it to the others. Never cheat somebody of their rights. If it's theirs, even if it's something small as in pen or paper. Story 69. I will always tell someone if they have food stuck in their teeth, a booger hanging out of their nose, their zipper is down, etc. I hope this is helpful and saves them from feeling more embarrassed once they've realized it. Maybe it's better if they think no one has noticed though. I want to know. Story 70. When I come upon a senior walking, I will pace myself so as not to pass them too quickly. I don't want them to feel bad that they are not young anymore. Story 71. If someone you don't know well offers you a mint, you use it gratefully. Even if, like me, you don't like mint, it's a small way of letting someone else perform a service good for early bonding, and it also catches any cases where your breath stinks and they're being nice. Story 72. I buy the exact same socks in bulk, so I don't have to waste time sorting them into pairs, and if I lose any it doesn't matter because they're all identical. Story 73. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. I noticed it when I was somewhere around 10 years old. It started because I was never first in anything, but I figured out that second place is a lot easier to get, so I decided that I would be second in everything. Then I saw that if I did the easiest part of my homework fast, I still got 80 of the grades, skipped the hard problems, then get back to my book. I frequently don't buy the absolute best. I buy the second best. I get 80 of what I want for 20 of the price, which means I can buy something else I want. It's worked out pretty well for me.
Story 74. The reboot rule. When you feel like everyone at you sleep, when you feel like you hate everyone eat, when you feel like you hate yourself shower.
Story 75. When I need to get up in the morning, I set a timer for 5 minutes. After it goes off I say 3, 2, 1, go and then get up. It works so much better to let myself adjust and mess around on my phone than just get up. Story 76. Prior to AirTags. If I lost my keys, I'd check the fridge. Sometimes we'll replace a drink for my keys. Also, if I'm hiding something in the house, e.g., birthday cards, or gifts, I'll delay send myself an email so I remember. Story 77. Don't ever become friends with people who love to gossip. When you tell someone something personal, you shouldn't have to specifically tell them to keep it to themselves, otherwise expect it's public knowledge and you'll be hearing about it from some random other person. Story 78. Don't give people a problem to fix or they will try to fix it. For example, you're invited to the movies but don't want to go. Don't say your car broke down or they'll just find you a ride. Just say you can't make it and leave it at that. Story 79. I was raised to be very conservative, but I've since deconstructed by using a specific mindset that I am confused to see a lot of people don't. Basically, whenever I see people that I don't understand at first, race, religion, LGBTQ, poly, etc., I ask myself two simple questions. 1. Are they hurting me directly? 2. If not, are they hurting anyone I care about directly? If the answer to both of those questions is no, then why would I care? In the time it takes to sit and stew in my anger and hatred, I can just as easily talk Toriad up on the people I don't understand, and come to understand them over time. Following this process has made my life so simple and well-rounded. I've made cherished friends and experienced such delights as others could only dream of. I can't understand why you would fear trans women in the women's bathroom, but I've seen my best friend light up when her gender-fluid spouse enters the room. I will never accept hating someone by the color of their skin, and because of that, I've enjoyed visiting other countries and working with people with very different skill sets from myself, because the fact that they celebrate Denali or Ramadan doesn't affect me in any way other than to pique my curiosity in these holidays as another occasion to cherish loved ones. Right-wingers and fascists are weird, y'all. Thank God I'll never understand them. Story 80. Never cook at home without shoes on. Whether it's spill boiling water, a dropped knife, or just simply from a comfort support standpoint, your feet are protected. Most people don't do this at home. You should start. Story 81. I use the side of the towel with the tag for my body, and the side without the tag for my face and hair. It seems logical and I've been doing it for years. Story 82. I end every phone call or hangout with friends family with an I love you, no questions asked, even if they just called to ask a quick question, or just stopped in for a second. Sometimes people are caught off guard at first, but then they always smile really big and it makes me so happy, especially my guy friends. Guys, tell each other you love each other more. I don't think you'll hear it enough. Story 83. Cup zones. Being blind, I follow the rule that all containers of liquid must always be placed in certain zones. That way spilt water doesn't destroy my electronics. Story 84. I try to become the person I wish everyone else was. For instance, I worked delivering pizza in high school. I hated getting very minimal tips. I overtip most delivery drivers now.